How's it going, everybody? I'm going to jump into my personal story with ME, CFS, and kind of go into detail about what I've been through. I haven't done that yet. I looked through the videos. I was surprised that I hadn't really done a video that detailed my journey. Some people wanted to know. I've been asked quite a bit, and I think it's important for the channel to kind of have my story detailed a little bit so you guys know where I'm coming from and why I made this channel in the first place. So when I was about 22 years old, I noticed a big change in my ability to do things. And what I mean by that is the things that I normally excelled in and did very well without even thinking about it, working full-time, being in college, working out all the time, and having a social life, all came pretty easy to me. It wasn't something that I struggled with. And then when I was about 22, pushing 23, I noticed that I couldn't do those things anymore. Now, I'd noticed some things before that, but that's really when it started to affect my life. And so I thought, you know what, maybe I'm burning both ends of the candle here. Maybe I should just cut back on going to the gym, cut back on my social life, go to bed a little earlier, just in general, take care of myself a little bit more. And that did help a little, but I still was struggling. I still had persistent fatigue, swollen lymph nodes, joint pain. I was starting to have some gastro issues, a little bit of brain fog. Didn't really know what that was yet. I just was not well. And then it started to get worse and worse. So I was saying, man, maybe I should, only take a class or two in college, tone it down a little bit, work some less hours at work. So I did that, thinking my body's going to recuperate like it always has, just from a little bit of rest, taking care of myself. Now at this point, my social life is pretty much gone. And I got worse, actually. I didn't get better. So then I started to get pretty worried because I felt like something, something serious was going on. At that point, I dropped out of school and I was working part-time. And then I started to talk to doctors more frequently about it, told them to just please test me to figure this out. And at that point, I started to get a sense that the doctors didn't really have a clue as to what was going on. They just their body language, the way that they were looking at me, the questions they were asking me, leaned more towards, are you depressed? Are you sad? Are you going through a tough time? Do you have a lot of stress in your life? No, generally pretty happy guy. My relationships were all strong with my friends and my family, the person I was dating at the time. I was doing well in my career for my age. I was excelling. Everything was going great, really. I felt like I had a pretty near, I don't want to say perfect. No one has a perfect life, but I had a good life. And they didn't really believe me. They were like, come on, what's going on? What's really going on? I was just kind of puzzled. Then I would leave the appointments so bummed because I would go there with so much hope that a professional would help me. And that help never came. And I did so many tests. And then I was like, okay, this doctor doesn't know. I need to just find a better doctor. Find different doctors. Nothing was helping. Now, that doesn't help when you're going through an illness, that no one's helping you. No one's telling you it's going to be all right. No one's saying, hey, I'm your doctor. We're going to figure this out. It was more so just kind of like, I don't know what to do with you. Eat better, sleep better. Good luck. That was basically what I got. I live in Southern California. There's a lot of really good doctors around here. So the issue was not that I wasn't going to competent doctors. Well, I guess they weren't really super competent by doing that, but I was seeing people that were highly recommended in a very affluent area, and still nothing. And meanwhile, now I'm realizing that I can barely get out of bed. I'm 23, 24 now. I can barely get out of bed. The brain fog has become so bad that I don't even really recognize myself. I felt like I was deteriorating a lot. It was scary, for a 24-year-old, for anyone, but for a 21-year-old who's beginning the prime of their life, it was tough. It was tough. I had to explain to people at work that I had to leave. And I was excelling at the time and doing well. And they didn't understand why I would do that. They were just puzzled. They thought I was just kind of quitting on life. They thought I was just being lazy, or some people just thought that there was something else going on. People that knew I wasn't lazy, they were worried because they were like, why would you leave this all behind? And they weren't really buying that it was my health. I looked pretty healthy at 24, and they didn't get it. And at that point, people started to question, what was going on. Are you sure it's your health? What, why don't you talk about it? You could talk to me. I had people that cared. They wanted to offer their help and tell me they could talk to me, and I just kept trying to explain my health, and they just didn't get it. They wanted to. It wasn't that they didn't. Anyone that knows me or knew me for an extended period of time, I'm not much for quitting at anything, and I'm not much for sitting around. I'm always getting into something. I'm always pretty motivated and have a lot of goals. And so the people that really knew me started to be pretty concerned. People that didn't know me too well, they were kind of just offering help, trying to see what's going on. At that point, my family started to see that it was more serious than they even thought. They took it serious from the beginning. I'm fortunate. But at that point, I could see it in their face and their behavior that they were really concerned. And they would see me sleep all day. Like, I would sleep until like 1, and I would get up, eat, go back to sleep. Now, the sleeping is what led some people in my family to believe that I was depressed. And I would try to explain to them, I'm not, although I am becoming pretty upset, and I might be starting to get depressed based on the fact that I can't go a night, I can't function without sleeping 14, 15 hours, and I'm in pain, and I'm having disorientation and all these different symptoms. And when I would articulate this to my family, I would say, I don't have a big family, but I would say the vast majority of my family got it. And there was a few members that were just not, they didn't understand what was going on. They thought that I had just quit on life. And it caused a lot of issues within my family, because the majority of my family was upset with the minority of my family that thought that. And they were basically like, why would you think that? He's never given an indication to ever be like that. And that's the part that really I wanted to share with a lot of people, because it's so upsetting how family, really, what's worse, the illness or how some family members treat you? What's harder to deal with? Every other health issue that people have, and your family rallies around you. Like, if you have a type of cancer, you have a type of other illness, people are posting, on social media that they're standing with their hero family member. You have ME, and people are like, what's wrong with you? Why are you like this? Stop being like that. Quit making it up. That's tough. And it's not easy to deal with. And I've always had a lot of pride. I've always been strong. I've always been the one in my family to kind of lift everybody up. So for me not to be able to have that role and have that taken away was hard for me. It's different for males and females, although we're all suffering the same. There are some different avenues that we kind of tend to go down. And me being the protector and the person everyone leans on, the strong person, the person who steps in to help other people through their issues, and physically or emotionally, I would always kind of help my family out. That's kind of who I've always been. And not being able to help my, senior citizen mom carry bags, that was really hard on me. To accept that I can't do that anymore. And from there, I basically saw dozens of doctors, all of which were just saying, all your tests come up clean. There's nothing wrong with you. And I'm like, there is something wrong with me. And they would say, sir, this shows there's nothing wrong with you. It's time for you to move on with your life. And in my mind, I'm like, move on with my life? My entire life stopped. How am I supposed to move on with my life? My entire life stopped. And at that point, the attitude that doctor gave me, and I remember we drove all the way to Los Angeles, which is about an hour from where I live, to like a special doctor that was recommended by all these people. You know, that doctor sees, celebrities and all this and nonsense like that matters. But this was supposed to be the doctor that figured it out. And the way that she spoke to me, the disregard she had, the almost disgust she looked at me with, as if I'm just making all this up, it really bothered me. To this day, I still feel what I felt that day and the way she looked at me. I'd never been looked at like that in my life, or treated like that in my life. And at that point, I think I was still like around 24 years old. I decided no one's gonna help me. That's a hard thing to accept. Growing up in the US, where we have a lot of resources here, and I'm in an area where there's a lot of resources, and I'm fortunate enough to be able to use those resources around me, and no one's able to help. I was blown away by that. At that point, I started to understand that I'm only going to be able to help myself. And I would read and read and read and read and read and read as much as I could, and educate myself on this. And I said, no one's going to make you better except for yourself. That's a tough pill to swallow. You feel very alone, you feel very sad, but the fighter in me was like, I'm gonna figure this out. Now, I'm pushing 40 now, so this was a while ago. So you would type in ME, CFS, all the symptoms, not much would come up. Imagine for you people that are a little bit younger, maybe in your 20s, early 20s, imagine going to Google and searching things and just like nothing shows up. Like it's a very it's hard to imagine now, but that's how it was. I mean, you get maybe one article and there wouldn't be pages of results. It would just be empty. And that was very concerning. I mean, it made me feel even more hopeless. But as time went on, more things came out. I started reading about getting better rest, eating better, supplements, things that worked. Certain forums. This was before Facebook, so you couldn't just hop on a support group on Facebook. You had to find forums and establish relationships there, exchange ideas there, have doctors recommended, figure out which doctors understood about ME/CFS. At the time, there were very few. There still aren't a ton, but I started to understand more about ME, about CFS, what post-exertional malaise is. And this is you had to dig deep. You had to go down the wormhole, so to speak, to find these things. And I started applying these things to my life, the things that I learned, and I started getting a little bit better. Now, to put things into perspective, by this time, I was almost bedridden 18 hours a day. It was pretty bad. I mean, I was deteriorating, and the things that I learned helped me slowly not be completely bedridden. And there was a little bit of hope. I spent years reading, researching everything about ME, and a lot's changed since then. So I'm not an expert, but I learned a lot. I educated myself on it. And I encourage anyone who's watching this to do the same. There are a lot more resources now where people can help you, but you really have to be your own advocate. You really have to help. It's when you're going through this illness, and you have to take on the responsibility to not only help yourself, but you have to educate your family. your friends, co-workers. And that's why I created this channel, is because when I started to get a little bit better, and people ask me this a lot, I still suffer from ME, I still have daily issues with ME, I still can't live what a person would call normal life. The reason that I created this is because I thought to myself, what would have happened if it wasn't for my family helping me? Physically, emotionally, financially. When I first got sick, I would not have made it. And I remember talking to someone on a forum who was just as sick as I was, and they had no family help. They had all turned their back on her. And she would often talk about how she didn't want to go on, and how she wanted to quit. And now myself and many other members of the forum would always try to encourage her to keep going, and she did keep going. So she didn't do anything to harm herself, luckily, and I think she got a lot better. I've lost touch with her over the years, but I've always thought of her, and that's what inspired me to make the channel, was thinking of people that had nobody. I would not be here if it wasn't for my family, my friends, spouse. So I thought maybe make a channel and hopefully people can relate to someone and not feel completely alone. Now I know my videos aren't really, saving the world out there, but just to see someone who's going through something similar might help someone. And that's how this channel was created. It was created because I had like a supportive team, and it was so difficult. It still is. And it breaks my heart to think of people that don't have that team, that don't have family members like mine. I have some very special family members that have really gone out of their way to help me, help research, go to doctors with me, fight on my behalf. When certain doctors would try to tell me it's all in my head and I'm depressed and go out and meet a girl and you'll get better, I wouldn't have the energy to fight back. And they would say, listen, don't talk to him like that. That's not what's going on here. You don't know him. You should be ashamed of yourself. And what would I have done without those people? So that is that. This video is already pushing 20 minutes. I didn't want to make a super long video, but that is the cliff notes of my journey. And I'm sure it sounds very similar to a lot of other people, but I know a lot of people don't have that support. And that's why I'm here. That's why I do these videos. That's why I talk about certain things, because I would try to talk to friends or family or coworkers about brain fog or about post-exertional malaise. And even when they had the best intentions to understand, they didn't. So I want everybody out there to know, I understand what people are going through. Everyone's situation is different. You might be living by yourself and having a really tough time, and I might not be able to relate to that, but I know what this illness is and what it does to you and how it makes you feel. That I do know. So everyone out there that can't relate to someone that feels very alone, I'm not there with you, but you're not alone. And everyone in the comments, all other subscribers, people in support groups, they get it too. And we're all on the same journey together to a degree. And I hope that these videos to some degree help, just to hear someone else talking about the topics that you're thinking about. If you have ME or know someone with ME, like and subscribe. I think it is beneficial to have a community communicating and sharing stories and ideas and doctors and knowledge. And there's people with ME and CFS have a lot of knowledge because doctors wouldn't help them, so they said, you know what, I'm gonna do this myself. Talk to the average person with ME and they know a lot. So I really do hope that the community grows and keeps exchanging ideas. I hope everyone out there is doing well, and until next time, take care.